Hello folks, I'm Alex, this is Alex Unabridged, and this is the roundup for my Adventures in Genre project. So welcome back to the channel if that is the case. Yes, I thought I would just jump on and do a quick roundup for Adventures in Genre, which was my project, of course, for 2023, run throughout 2023, where I dove into some genres that I was very underread on. Either I'd not read anything before, or I'd read a couple of bits over the years. To kind of expand my, broaden my horizons, because when I came into 2023, I very much predominantly was reading horror. Horror with bits of thriller, couple of bits of sci-fi, and I mean bits, like not a lot at all, but I mainly read horror and non-fiction, and so I wanted to try some new stuff. So I split the year up into 12 genres, one per month, and tried some very different stuff. It has been a brilliant experience for me because I have found some stuff, some genres and authors that I probably never would have touched otherwise, and they have become authors that I really want to read more of. I've found genres that I really now want to take a bit more of a deep dive into, and so definitely I will be reading more variety of stuff going forwards. It's always good for me to challenge myself, because although I like variety, I'm often quite scared of trying new things if I think that I might not like them, for instance. And so to structure this as a project and kind of make myself try some stuff was kind of the only way for me to do it. And I am often surprised at what I like, what I end up liking, and what I end up, not liking so much. Things that I think I'll love, maybe not so much. So it's been absolutely brilliant, and I thought I would finish off, just tie up the loose ends of this project by going back through and ranking the genres that I've tried, from most enjoyable to least enjoyable. Not that I hated anything. There was no genre that I tried where I was like, no, I really don't like this, this is not for me. But there were some which I wouldn't necessarily kind of make a beeline for in the future, that they will be very, very rare things that I'll dip into. So let's start then at number 12, and this will be autobiography and memoir. So the only non-fiction genre on here, funnily enough. This was April. This was back in April, and I read, I think, 4 books, although I DNF'd one, which was one that I thought I would love. It was Peter Kay's autobiography, the comedian, and yeah, it was no, I didn't like it at all. It's not that I disliked autobiography and memoir. I think it's just I'm not drawn to it, as a genre. I think I will potentially be drawn to very specific memoirs. Autobiography less so, but memoirs, very much dependent on the person. I'm not that bothered about reading, sort of a memoir or an autobiography about a celebrity, for instance. The ones that I enjoyed the most were ones from sort of queer or trans authors. And the one that I actually really liked was a graphic novel memoir, essentially, which was Fine, a comic about gender by Rhea Ewing. I really liked the format of that, and and I read another sort of trans memoir in graphic novel form later in the year as well, which was also excellent. So I think maybe that's where I'll look more of for memoir stuff. I think potentially graphic novel formats for memoir is the way to go for me. But yeah, so I'll occasionally, if something pops up by someone that I think, oh, that I'm really interested in learning more about them, then I'll pick something up. But it's not a genre that I'm going to look into specifically to find stuff to read. In at number 11 was comedy, which was all the way back in last January of 2023, where I read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and some E.F. Benson, Map and Lucia, first book in the Map and Lucia series. Again, it's one where I like humour. I like humour in my books. I like dark humour in my books, but I wouldn't necessarily look for books which are billed as comedies. Hitchhikers was good. I enjoyed Hitchhikers, but I think that was because it was science fiction, as we'll see when I go further down, further on in the list. I think the science fiction element was what I enjoyed the most about that. Although the humour is good, it's wacky, you know, it is good humour. The A.F. Benson, it was amusing in parts, but it was quite light as well, and there were some issues I had with it. But yeah, again, it's not one that I hated by any means. I think I just like my comedy to be interwoven into, you know, books of other genres. In at number 10 is Mystery from March last year. I read an Agatha Christie, which was all right. It was enjoyable enough. And I read The Seven Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle, I think that's what it's called, the Stuart Turton, which was also very good and very imaginative. And although I enjoyed both of those books, they haven't stuck with me. And again, mystery is one of those where I like a bit of mystery in other stuff, but straight out traditional mysteries, I don't think I'll necessarily go looking for. If I hear good reports of one and, you know, good recommendations, then I'll potentially try stuff. But again, it's not a genre where I can see myself really getting into stuff massively. So yeah, it's one that will come in through other genres. In at number 9, we've got Action and Adventure, which was from August. What I learned from this is that trashy action and adventure, absolutely. Because I read Pacific Vortex, ! By Clive Cussler, which was trashy as all get out, but brilliant. You know, we've got a protagonist in that who punches sharks in the face. What more do I need? And it was trashy. It was, you know, it was not poorly written, but there was definitely some elements in it that were poor or questionable. But then it's, you know, it's from the 1980s. But it was just all out fun. It was wonderfully pacey, silly fun. I read James Bond for that as well, in terms of the spy action sort of thriller type thing. Although not so much action in that, a bit of action, but certainly a bit of adventure. And I really didn't like that. Not only because I just found I didn't particularly get on with the writing. I didn't like the character of Bond, but it just, yeah, I think I need my action and adventure to be trashy, silly, pacey stuff. So I will look for more of that within my trash reading, but probably not for stuff that's a bit more serious on that side of things. In at number 8 then is fantasy, which may seem quite low down on my list, considering that Legends and Lattes, which I read for fantasy back in February, was number 2 on my top 10 books of last year. But I think that's an anomaly. I also read or tried to read the first Mistborn book in Brandon Sanderson, The Final Empire. I tried that on audio and the narration was terrible, so I binned it off. kind of thinking, oh, I'll go back to it at some stage. And honestly, I just kind of, I think I've realised that, like, no, I just don't really care that much. It was interesting. It was an interesting world, but it wasn't enough in terms of the world and the characters to kind of make me want to go out and buy it or pick it up out of the library or whatever. It's like it's low down on the priority list, I think is what I'd say. And that's not because I thought the writing was bad. So the narration was poor, but the writing was decent. But yeah, I think it obviously just didn't grab me. It didn't hook me enough in the. I mean, I listened to quite a lot of it before I gave up. It didn't hook me enough. I also read Stormfront by Jim Butcher, which is urban fantasy, which again was probably a bit more what I'd go for generally, something that's set in kind of a version of our world with fantastical elements. I'm much better with that kind of fantasy generally than I am with high fantasy. But that, I mean, that I think, you know, kind of, I enjoyed it enough at the time, but I wouldn't go on with that series, I don't think. As time's gone on, I've kind of thought, yeah, no, actually that wasn't that great. It was kind of, it was mediocre, I think that's the thing. It wasn't bad, it was just mediocre. So I think the anomaly there was Legends and Lattes and a bit of cozy fantasy. And maybe that's where, maybe I'm very specific on my fantasy genre tastes. Maybe I just like, you know, maybe I really like some cozy fantasy, whereas I'm less bothered about the big epic high fantasy. I don't know, there are some other big epic high fantasies I want to try, which I'll just pick up when I feel like it at some stage. The Live Ship Traders by Robin Hobb. I hear such good things about that and I really like the concept, so I am going to give that a go after some consultation with some fellow booktubers, in particular Robert over at Punk Rock Cereal Bowl. I'm going to give it a go thanks to his kind of recommendation on it. But yeah, I think I'll be very, very picky about what I try on fantasy, and I will kind of go in, you know, kind of, you know, knowing that, or like feeling like if you don't like it, you can put it down. I'm not going to try and like force myself through something if I'm not really into it. In at number 7 then is classics, which if you'd have asked me like at the beginning of the year, I would have probably said, oh yeah, I reckon that one will be like right down at the bottom of the list. No, I actually really, I was really surprised at how much I enjoyed a couple of these. Pride and Prejudice, flipping loved it. Nearly made my top 10, certainly my top 20 reads of last year. And The Scarlet Pimpernel as well. Really, really enjoyable and very accessible. And that's what I was worried about with classics, was that I struggle with the language a little bit. So I'm definitely going to read some more Jane Austen, and I'm also going to have a little look into some other classic kind of action and adventure stuff as well. So I'm going to look at some Dumas, perhaps, with the Three Musketeers or Count of Monte Cristo, something like that. So yeah, very surprised that I found some classics that I enjoyed, and yeah, we'll definitely make a foray into more of that. And I do need to get going with some classic horror as well, because I'm very, very underread on my classic horror. Okay, in at number 6, we've got another surprise in that it's romance, although specifically it's LGBTQ plus romance, so maybe not so much of a surprise. But generally, I dismissed romance kind of out of hand without really having, you know, read anything contemporary. And I found a few there which I actually really enjoyed. I mean, Heartstopper again, you know, we've got graphic novels coming in. Comics, graphic novels. Heartstopper was fantastic, and I've got volume 2 to read sometime soon. One Last Stop, which was female romance with some sci-fi time travel-y stuff in it, which I really enjoyed. It's got a bit of a genre mix in there. The only one that I didn't like was the trans one, really, which was Felix Ever After. But again, that was just down to like I didn't particularly like the characters and stuff like that. That just wasn't for me. But I enjoyed the general kind of, I enjoyed the romance side of things, which, as I say, kind of surprised me a little bit, and has also inspired me to have a little crack at writing some romance myself, which is very amusing to me. And it's quite difficult as well, writing romance. So it's a lot of projects I've just got on the go for, you know, if I don't feel like I want to write some of the darker stuff that I've got on the go, I can do a bit of romance writing. So yeah, so I will look out for other romances, queer romances particularly, because I think some of the stuff that's coming out these days is definitely, it's very different from what I expected, I think. So yeah, I'm definitely open to more of that. In at number 5 then is middle grade and YA horror. Not too much of a surprise because it's horror, but I was very pleasantly surprised at the quality and the scariness, the creepiness, certainly of some middle grade stuff. I read 3 for this. The Dark Deep, which was very much middle grade, sort of 9 to 12-year-olds. So almost, you know, into kids' books stuff. That was really imaginative and had very kind of eerie, creepy moments in it. Then there was Frozen Charlotte, which was really bloody creepy, like creepier than a lot of the adult horror that I've read. Yeah, that one, I had to put that down late at night one night because I'm just like, nope. Creepy, possessed dolls, no, not before I go to bed. So I was really impressed with that. That was very good, and I'm going to definitely look out some more of Alex Bell's writing, and more in that series. I forget what it's called, Red something, I think. But yeah, that was very good, very, very good. And then I forgotten the name of it, but basically kind of a book based around Frankenstein. And that was also excellent. That was more of a YA, I guess, middle grade to YA. And that was also excellent, really well written and very creepy, and some really interesting discussions about literature and authorship and all that kind of stuff. Okay, in at number 4, we've got the neo-noir from November, which is, of course, contemporary crime fiction. I really enjoyed this month. The Japanese thriller that I read was, I think, was less of a thriller and more of a mystery, but it definitely had thrilling elements to it. I read Snowblind by Ragnar Jonasson, so Icelandic crime, and that was a nice mix of kind of thriller and mystery. I think, like, it wasn't full out mystery, but it definitely had thrilling elements to it, darker elements to it. But again, still quite less thrillery, but actually really enjoyable because of its slightly slower pace, its slightly more subtle kind of darkness to it, and environmentally, in terms of the atmosphere, it was really good. But the one that really kind of got me was Cold Granite by Stuart McBride, which is a dark story, dark themes in it, child murders, up in Aberdeen, in Scotland. The northeast of Scotland, and that one was dark, very, very dark sense of humour to it as well. Really good police procedural. That was thrilling. That was really thrilling. I wanted to listen to that constantly. That was one of those books where I was like, I want to listen to more. I want to listen to more. So yeah, absolutely, we'll be looking at more of the darker side of crime thriller, and also some more of the Scandi stuff, because I did like Jonasson's Snowblind. Might try some more of his because I know it's in the library, but I've got some more names to try as well, more authors to try on that. So yes, so the top 3 then. So in at number 3, we've got dystopias, and this is in at number 3 because even though I really, really enjoyed / appreciated the reading that I did in December, I can't read these too often because they are quite heavy on the brain. Even the reading themselves might be very accessible, but it's the concepts and the philosophy and the politics and the thought that then it kind of sparks off the what if in my head, and it can be a little bit anxiety kind of rattling for me. So like The Handmaid's Tale, I basically spent, most of the book with a knot in my chest, feeling quite anxious, and it kind of permeated into my general daily thought, which is what it should do, but I just need to not be reading that too often, that kind of thing. But I will definitely, I want to go back and I want to read some more of the kind of the classic dystopias. I think that's the thing for me. I'm less bothered about trying to find some of the newer stuff, the contemporary stuff at the moment. I will come to that, but I do really want to go back and do some reading of some of the classic stuff. So I want to read We, I want to read They, I want to read Brave New World, which I started when I was in my 20s, and for whatever reason, I don't even remember why, I didn't finish it. So I need to go back and read things like that. So yeah, it has given me the taste for them, but I just need to spread them out and read them when I've got the brain power for them. As I say, it's not about the language, it's not about the any kind of lack of accessibility or kind of brain melting concepts, things like that. It is about the brain melting philosophy that comes out of them for me. They make me think a lot and quite I can ruminate a little bit too much perhaps on them, things like that. So yeah, I need to be careful with when I read them, but I definitely want to read more. In at number 2 then is magic realism. This was from May, and I only read a couple. I read Nights at the Circus, which was my number 4 book in my top 10, and The Ocean at the End of the Lane, which didn't quite make the top 10, but it is in the top 20, absolutely, of my reads last year. So that one's by Neil Gaiman, of course. I really like. This is where the fantasy stuff bleeding in. I think this is where my kind of level is. I really like the strangeness. I really like with Nights at the Circus particularly, I like the theatricality of it. I just like that. I do just really like that kind of blend of the kind of the fantastical magic elements within a world which is ours, ostensibly ours. Yeah, it's just the right balance for me. And I mean, I was lucky in terms of both of those books are extremely well written. Very different, very, very different. But they were both of them in their own way were absolutely magical experiences. And I want to explore more of this genre because this is the one I probably know the least of in terms of, from past experience. This is one where I still feel very underread, and it's sometimes difficult because it's difficult sometimes to find magic realism because it's sometimes difficult to pin down what is and what isn't. But there are definitely some classic magic realist texts, and I have a list of them now, and I will try and work my way through those over the next year or so. So yeah, magic realism, absolutely. What I read of it, I loved, really loved. And then at number 1, it will surprise absolutely nobody who's been watching the channel, at least in the last couple of months. At number 1 is science fiction. I fell absolutely head over heels for science fiction in September. As I say, I'd already read bits and pieces that had sci-fi elements, and I'd read some science fiction, some full-on science fiction in the past, but very little of it. And I'm quite daunted by science fiction. I still am pretty daunted by science fiction because it's a massive genre full of tons of subgenres, and some of it is very hard going in terms of brain power and getting your head around some of the concepts, especially when we're getting into the hard science fiction. That's the stuff that scares the crap out of me. which is why I've got my science fiction for the somewhat hesitant project on the go this year, which is to kind of hopefully ease me in and give me a taste of some of the different sorts of science fiction, some of the harder stuff, some of the really kind of complex stuff, which we'll get to in the second year of the project. And yeah, but I want to learn, I want to not just find all the different subgenres and try all different bits from those, and try classic stuff and contemporary stuff and short stuff and all that kind of stuff. I want to kind of learn the history of it and the cultural context. It's one of those where it's just captured me absolutely, more so than I thought it would. I thought I'd probably enjoy it a lot, but it really has become something that I've got a little bit obsessed with. So, you know, alongside horror, I think science fiction has the potential, has a big potential to be like an equal favourite with horror by the time I'm done with it, once I've found the bits of it that I really do love. I know there will be some of it that I won't like. There's always going to be some things in genres, you know, an overarching genre. Like even with horror, there's stuff that I don't go for in terms of subgenres, tropes, things like that. So there will always be some stuff that I don't like in sci-fi, but I think that it's the sort where I think I'll probably be surprised by some of the stuff that I think I won't get on with, that actually I probably will. So yeah, so science fiction, absolutely, hands down, runaway winner of adventures in genre. So there we go. That was my year in a nutshell, or not quite a nutshell because I ramble, but you know what I mean. That is my roundup for Adventures in Genre. I've had a blast with that project. It is now, of course, making way for my months with my author project. So yeah, brilliant year, really enjoyed it. And just even outside of the actual specificity of Adventures in Genre as a project, what it was doing, having a project, a scheduled project for something, that taught me that that's the way to go for me with some stuff. Like hence why I've now got my science fiction project and why I've got my author project and things like that, is because that structure to my reading, to explore things, is that works for me. Which surprised me in itself, because I'm not generally one who goes for things that structured or planned. I'm not the best planner. And yeah, it's maybe that's why I flit about so much, is because I don't structure things enough. But yeah, it works for me on this. So yeah, absolutely fantastic for me. I hope you've enjoyed my ramblings when you've tuned in to hear about my adventures in genre as well. So that will do from me today, folks. Thank you very much for watching today, and for any of the Adventures in Genre episodes that you've tuned in for. Drop your thoughts and opinions in the comments, as always. It's always great to hear from you. If you enjoyed this video, please do consider giving me a like and subscribing if you're not already, for more bookish ramblings coming very soon. But from me, for now, that's ta-ra.